Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Exercise with Exos. Coach Jazzy here, and I have a fun, spooky workout plan for us today. So, we're going to be spelling out spooky, and we're going to do 3 rounds today. We're going to do 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest/transition time. That's going to give us, we have half of our movements will be upper body, the other half will be lower body. So we're going to alternate between the two. But I'm going to go ahead real quick with some demos and then we will get right into the workout. So it's October, it's spooky season. So spelling out spooky today. Starting off with our S, we're going to do some sumo squats. So this is where we're going to have our feet wider than we normally would. So not as wide as a lateral squat. And then coming down into our squat and pushing through our heels. So we're going to feel this mainly in our glutes and in our inner thighs here, but coming down as low as we can and pushing through our heels. So that's our S. And then we're going to be on the ground. We're going to do some plank knee to elbow for the P. So on our hands and toes, we're going to exhale, either come across or to the same side. Whatever feels good for you today. You can switch between the two. You can do one round of one way, one round the other way, whatever feels good. That's the P. And then for our first O, we're going to do some overhead squats. So feet hip width apart. So this one we're going to have our regular squat stance. Hands above our head, squatting down and coming up. So this one with our hands here is really important to make sure we're using our core so we're nice and tall versus coming down. So that's going to be our first O. And then for our second O, we're going to do a down dog overhead press, which is basically a pike push-up, but it starts with an O. So that's why we're doing that one. So for that, our down dog overhead press here. So in our down dog or pike position, coming down and back up. So basically doing our push-ups like this for the second O. And then for the K, we're going to do squat knee to elbow. So hands at our temples. Feet again, regular squat stance, hip width, squatting down, exhaling, up, coming down, and up. So we're going to use our core and our legs there. And then finally for our Y, we're going to do some bent over Ys here. So feet hip width apart, pushing your hips back, hands in front, up into our Y. So we're just doing the Y this time. So we're going to feel that in the backs of our shoulders and a little bit in the fronts there. But that is going to be our whole circuit for today. So let's go ahead and do our quick warm up here. So we're going to go ahead and come to the top of our space for the world's greatest stretch. So we're going to go ahead and interlace our fingers, grabbing onto one of our knees, pulling towards our chest. And exhaling, step back, reverse lunge, hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big deep inhale. And exhaling, opening up towards our front leg, gazing past our hand. Working on our rotation. And exhaling, we're going to plant our hand outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And we're going to go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together, push the ground away, and stand on up. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So interlacing our fingers, grabbing onto our other knee, pulling towards our chest. And exhaling, step back, reverse lunge. Hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big deep inhale. And exhale, opening up towards our front leg, gazing past our hand, thumb is facing behind us. And we're going to go ahead and exhale, planting outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. Nice big deep inhale. And we're going to exhale, bring our feet together, push the ground away, and stand on up. All right, on to our upper body warm up here. We're going to go ahead and do some plank to pike so we can warm up our shoulders, our core, and open up our calves a little bit. We got a lot of squats coming up today. So coming to the ground, hands and toes. We're going to go ahead, inhale, push our hips up. And we can go ahead and start to pedal our heels. So let's go ahead, push one heel into the ground. You can even push your other toe on your heel if that helps. And then exhale, switch back. And exhale, switch again. We're gonna do one more switch here. And exhale and switch. Then we're gonna go ahead, push both our heels into the ground, push our head in between our hands. And then let's go ahead and go back to our plank. We're gonna go ahead and do 3 quick ones here coming up. And down. 2 more coming up. And down. And last one coming up. And then when we're ready, we're gonna go ahead and walk our hands towards our feet. And standing on up, making sure we use our glutes there. And we are ready to rock and roll. So we're spelling out spooky. We're doing 3 rounds, 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest / transition time. We're starting off with sumo squats. So I'm going to go ahead and get the timer started here. 3, 2, 1, and go. So starting off with sumo squats. So our feet are going to be a little bit wider than we normally have them. So finding that position that feels good for you. You can point your toes out a little bit if you need to as well. Inhaling, coming down. Exhaling, pushing through our whole foot. So for this, we're not going to get as deep as we normally do into our squat because of the way our feet are, but really making sure our knees are coming out still. We want them to be as close to being over our second toe, just like a regular squat. Switch my directions here, but really making sure we're driving through our heel, big toe, little toe. We really do want to feel that in our glutes. Keeping up with our breath. 3, 2, 1. All right, onto the ground, quick transition, plank, knee to elbow. 3, 2, 1. Definitely lots of ups and downs today, but plank here, holding our plank position. Exhale, bringing your knee up towards your elbow. So try and get your knee as close as you can. We want to make sure we're not crunching up. We're staying nice and flat. Bring our knee as close as we can. Making sure too that we're in our proper plank position. So screwing our hands into the ground. Keeping our chin tucked, but looking a little bit farther ahead. We don't want to look straight down. Exhaling, zipping our core up. Goodness, hearing so many pops and cracks right now. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. Standing on up. Up next, we have overhead squats. We're gonna have our arms over our head. 3, 2, 1. So back to our regular squat position here. So feet hip width apart, hands directly above our head. So we want to make sure we're not shrugging up. So we're squeezing our armpits, pulling our shoulder blades down and together. Regular squat coming down, making sure our knees are right over our second toe. Wearing your logo on your shirt proud. So really making sure that we're staying up. It's really easy with the overhead squat. So push your hips back versus bringing them straight down like a regular squat. So if you're not feeling it in your legs, you're feeling it in your back, go ahead and just do a regular squat. These can be a little bit tricky to sync up all together. Pushing through our whole foot as we stand up. 3, 1. Perfect. Oh, my arms are feeling that. All right. Next up, down dog overhead press. 3, 2, 1. So we're basically doing a pike push-up here. Same thing, different name. So hips are towards the ceiling, bringing our head to the ground as close to in between our hands as we can get it. Great job. Inhaling as we bring our head closer to the ground. Exhale as we push back up. We really want to feel this. We're going to feel it in our shoulders, our core, and even in your back a little bit. I know I tend to feel it in my upper back because I'm keeping everything so compact together between my shoulder blades, but you might feel a little bit differently than I do. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, next up, we're doing squat knee to elbow. I'm now officially warm. So take my jacket off. 3, 2, 1. So hands are at our temples. Feet, again, hip width apart, just like our regular squat stance. Inhaling down, exhaling up, and then bringing our knee up. So there will be a slight crunch, but we do want to try and stay as tall as we can. So we really are using our lower half of our core, which I know is a little bit harder to work and get stronger. So we really want to work on pulling from here. So we're inhaling through our, exhaling through our straw, bringing our core together, and that's going to help us drive our knees up. I think y'all know by now, this is also going to help us with our hip flexors because I love working two things at once. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. Last step in our spooky workout, bent over Ys. 3, 2, 1. So feet are hip width apart, slight bend in the knee, hips are coming back like we're closing a door behind us. Exhaling, lifting our arms up. So we want it to be like this, like a Y. Our thumbs are facing up, so our palms are facing each other. That's going to help us focus on a little bit more the back half of our shoulder. It's going to really help us with posture. We want to make sure we're moving nice and slow, using our shoulders. It can be really easy to use our momentum here. So if this isn't feeling good, whether or not you're feeling it in your back too much in this position, or you're not feeling it in your shoulders, feel free to lay flat on the ground and do the same movement. It's going to take out the momentum. It's going to take out a lot of the other muscles in our bodies. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, 1 round down, 2 to go. Starting back up with our sumo squats. 3, 2, 1. So again, feet are a little bit wider than we normally have them. So if you notice a theme here, the sumo squats is that wide stance, but the rest of our squats, we want our feet hip width. This one just targets our legs a little bit differently, but you can play around too. Maybe you want your feet a little bit closer. It's definitely not as wide as we have them for lateral squats. If you're feeling a little bit of discomfort in your legs at all, because of the position of your feet, feel free to just do a regular squat. I know for me, the wider my hips are, the more I feel it in my hip, which is not a good thing. So if you are like me with hip issues or a tight hip, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. So bring your feet in a little bit closer if you need to. 3, 2, 1. I never want y'all to feel uncomfortable in a bad way in this class. All right, plank knee to elbow is next. 3, 2, 1. So once again, screwing our hands into the ground. That's going to help us activate our back so our shoulder blades stay down and together. And you can, again, either do to the opposite side or the same side, whatever feels good for you today. You might feel it maybe on one versus the other. So maybe you feel it more in your core doing the same side or the opposite side. Again, whatever feels good for you today. Sorry, it's hard for me to talk and do this because then I'm not focusing on my breath, and I will not feel it in my core if I do not exhale when I bring in my knee up. 3, 2, 1. All right. Standing on up, we have overhead squats next. So hands are going to be above our head. 3, 2, 1. So regular squat stance here. Feet are hip width apart. Coming down. Exhaling up. It might be helpful if you're feeling, again, your hips are a little tight. You can point your toes out a little bit more if that feels good for you. But you might be noticing at this point, right? We were doing sumo squats. This is our wide stance. And then the narrow stance, as you can see, I can get a lot deeper into that squat when my feet are hip width apart. So that's why we want to have that narrower squat stance. Great job. Like I said, too, we had lots of squats today, so definitely working our legs. On this one, I know I definitely feel it in my arms, but you can make it a little bit more challenging. Hold a weight above your head. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, down dog overhead press or pike push-up. 3, 2, 1. I had to get creative with the names here because I wanted it to be every other letter was an upper versus a lower body. And with spooky, we have 2 O's. So I needed to get creative with what to do for our upper body with an O that was not an overhead lunge or squat. So we have the down dog overhead press. The same as a pike push-up. So we're bringing our head as close to the ground as we can. Exhaling as we push our hands through the ground. Keep pushing. And we're doing this after the overhead squat can be a lot on the arms, so we're doing great. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, squat knee to elbow. So hands are at our temples here. 3, 2, 1. So we squat down again. Same positioning as it was for our overhead squat. But now we are exhaling, driving our knee up. So as we come up, it's important here, we are pushing through both of our feet, but our weight is going to shift to one side as we bring our knee up. Great job. We're strengthening, again, our core and our hip flexors. Always want to work on our pillar strength, which is our shoulders, hips, and torso. Three, 2, 1. All right. Last up on our second round, bent over Y's. And then we have one more round. 3, 2, 1. So again, pushing our hips back like we're closing a door behind us. Making sure our shoulder blades are pulled down and back. So we don't want to be up here. So when we do our Y, we're not shrugging. We are squeezing through our armpits. Or you can act like you have an orange right here between your shoulder blades. You want to squeeze that orange here. Our back should be nice and flat, including our lower back. So if you're feeling this in your low back, make sure you're not arching. So we want to bring our butt to our belly button so our core is engaged. Our back is nice and flat. Great job. Like I was saying, this one's really great for our shoulder strength and our posture. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, 2 rounds down, 1 to go. Last spooky round here. Sumo squats are first. 3, 2, 1. So again, finding the distance that feels the best for us. Knees are coming forward, pushing through our whole foot. Going down and up. Definitely felt that nice pop in my hip. Staying with our good tempo. We don't want to go too fast. We can always manipulate our progress moving forward through time, sets, reps, or weight. And so if we don't have any weight, we can increase our time under tension by moving a little bit slower. So you can always make more challenging by slowing down your tempo. I didn't put any tempos in today, but you can always feel free to do that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, done with sumo squats. We have plank knee to elbow next. 3, 2, 1. So last time doing this one, pulling from our core. You also may notice that maybe one side you don't feel it as much. I know for me on my right side, since my hip is so tight, I don't always feel it in my core. So you can always move a little bit slower through that side that you don't feel it as much during, which is always my recommendation. Moving slower will help work on your mind to muscle connection. So you're really controlling your knee via your core, which is the goal here. So if you're only feeling it in your hip flexors or your legs, slow it down. Make sure you exhale, really bring your core in together. If you find that you're having trouble, 3, 2, 1. If you're having trouble activating your core, just let me know and I can give you some movements to help with that. So done with those. Up next, overhead squat. 3, 2, 1. So hands overhead. Again, same thing with the Ys. We want to make sure we're not shrugging up. We're pulling our shoulder blades down and together. That's going to help. 1, with using our core, we're not going to feel any pain in our traps here. We're activating our shoulder muscles. And that's also going to help us really train our back for proper posture, which I know a lot of us, me included, don't worry, don't always sit as properly as we should be when we're working at the computer or at our desks during the day. Great job. We're almost there. And then we have 3 more movements after this one. Then we're going to cool down. We're going to do some figure 4 on the ground. 3, 2, 1. All right. Up next, down dog to overhead. Down dog overhead press, which is basically pike push up. 3, 2, 1. All right. Getting into our pike position or down dog. And if you are, I know I'm probably saying this a little bit too late, but if you are struggling with keeping your legs straight, go ahead and bend them a little bit, see if that helps. Or you can move to an eccentric only push-up as well if you find that that works a little bit better for you today, especially in the 3rd round where our shoulders are tired, our body's tired. And I'd rather us switch something because it feels better than push through on something and maybe not do it correctly or risk injuring ourselves. So go ahead, drop down to a regular push-up. That feels good. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last 2 movements here, squat knee to elbow. And then we have bent over Ys. 3, 2, 1. Face this way. So hands at our temples, coming down. And up. Great job. Making sure we're pushing through our whole foot like a tripod, heel, big toe, little toe. It's going to help us use our glutes and our quads. It's going to evenly distribute our weight, which is going to be more helpful, especially if you find that your knees are bothering you at any point in time. A lot of times it's because of where our weight is planted on our feet. So making sure our hips come back, our knees come forward, pushing through our whole foot. We should definitely be squat pros by now. We've done so many squats today. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, bent over Ys. 3, 2, 1. So again, if you need to, feel free to lay flat on the ground and do these from the ground on your stomach. Like I was saying earlier, that can help us really take the other muscles out of it, and you can really focus on just lifting with the back of your shoulder if you're finding that this position is just not working for you today. So exhaling as we come up, thumbs are up towards the ceiling. Great job. Finishing strong here. 3, 2, 1. And that is going to be it for today's circuit. So go ahead and grab a sip of water if you need it. And we're going to go ahead, make our way onto the ground on our backs. Like I said, we're going to do some figure 4, really open up our glutes, our back, and our hips. I know we did, like I said, we did a lot of squats today. So this is going to help us just really open things up. But also, if you are sitting at your desk during the day, it is going to help kind of offset that position as well. So we're going to go ahead and take one ankle, cross it over our opposite knee. And if that feels good, go ahead and stay there. Or we can go ahead and interlace our fingers, grabbing either in the middle of our hamstring. We don't want to grab behind the knee. That can put pressure on our joint. So grabbing in the middle of our leg or in front of our shin and pulling towards our chest. Sighing away our tension. And let's go ahead and do one more breath here. And as we finish our exhale, we can go ahead and bring both our feet back down to the ground. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So crossing your other ankle over the opposite knee. If that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. Or we can go ahead and interlace our fingers, grabbing either again in the middle of our hamstring or in front of our shin and pulling our knee towards our chest. Sighing away our tension. Getting nice big deep inhales into our nose, into our bellies. And then exhaling, releasing all of our tension we can. We're going to go ahead and do one more breath here. And as we finish our exhale, we can go ahead and gently bring both our feet to the ground. And feel free to stay laying on the ground, or you can return to a seated kneeling or standing position. But that is going to be all the time I have for us today. So I hope you enjoyed our spooky workout. Make sure you stay hydrated today. I know it's pretty warm here in the Bay Area, so stay hydrated. Make sure you get some movement and some shade. Make sure we're not all in the sun all day. But I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see y'all again next week for more classes.